Hello everyone, welcome to Galaxy 89 Cars. Today, thanks to Porsche GB and Porsche Centre Reading, I'm taking you on an in-depth exterior and interior tour of this 2020 Porsche 718 Cayman GT4. Porsche Centre Reading have many high-specification cars for sale, and all of their and Porsche GB's contact details can be found in the description of the video. The GT4 is still a relatively new model at Porsche with only one previous version. It joins the GT fleet as the junior model under the GT3, with the GT3 RS and GT2 RS above. Despite having the least power out of the current GT range, many say it's the sweet spot thanks to its low, rear-mid mounted engine, small overall size and manual gearbox. Constructed from aluminium and steel composite, 718 GT4 is 4,456mm long, 18mm longer than its predecessor, 1,994mm wide with the mirrors folded, 1,269mm high, 3mm taller, and has an unladen weight of 1420 kg, increased by 80 kg over its predecessor. As the engine here is mounted low in the chassis, we won't be able to view it, but we can take a look at the rear compartment above it. To enter this space, we first need to unlatch the boot lid by pulling this small button up. Then we can move around to the rear and slowly lift the boot lid up where it's self-supported by two struts. 718 GT4 is powered by a naturally aspirated, mid-rear mounted 4-litre flat 6 that's based on the new 3-litre 911 engine. This is an increase of 200cc on its predecessors, and with that increase comes more power. 718 GT4 produces 414 brake horsepower and 420 Nm of torque, an increase of 30 brake horsepower and the same torque figure, although it can now be delivered much higher in the rev range. This new output produces the same 0 to 62 mph or 100 km/h time of 4.4 seconds, and an enhanced top speed of 188 mph, increased by 5 mph. Before leaving this space, we can take a look under the caps. The cap to the left can be unscrewed to provide access to the water and coolant tank. Moving across, we find the oil tank. Once finished in the rear, the boot needs to be manually closed with a firm depress. Now moving down to the wheels, this car is sitting on the standard 20-inch GT4 alloys in the optional satin black finish. Satin Aurum is also available. Braking here is provided by the optional vented and drilled ceramic discs that come in at 380mm at each corner. Now moving to 718 GT4 suspension, we find lightweight, spring struts with partly ball-jointed attachments and anti-roll bars at both ends, but the rear also comes with helper springs. This is all managed by two pieces of software, Porsche Active Suspension Management and Porsche Stability Management, that enhances driving dynamics and safety on both road and track. Now we've finished the model overview, we can start the in-depth exterior tour from the front. At the front, the form is generally the same, with the extended and redesigned front splitter that helps to produce downforce and direct air towards the undercar diffuser thanks to its special golf ball-like texture on its underside. In comparison to the first GT4, the larger splitter actually removes the lower portion of the intake surround. The upper part of this surround is now more angular and flows laterally with larger struts. To the sides of the vents are the new intakes for the new air curtains. The lateral intakes these take us to appear taller but narrower, and the black guard is larger on its outside edge, and the LED strip above has been moved inwards. Moving around, there are new air curtains behind the front wheels that control the flow of air away from the disruptive front wheels and add further downforce at the front. Moving up, we first come to the vent that releases air from the front and sends it over the bonnet for increased downforce. Just behind this is a metal Porsche badge, unlike some of the other GT models with their paint badges. On either side of this, we come to the lights. Here the optional Porsche Dynamic Lighting System Plus has been spec'd. This is indicated by the quad daytime running LEDs and can automatically adjust illumination distance and cornering. Behind, the long, narrow bonnet is mostly unchanged. If we roll over the right front arch, we come to the fuel tank flap. The flap can be opened with a light press. The fuel tank itself has a max capacity of 64 litres, which was the optional capacity in the previous GT4, and combined MPG of 25.7. Moving back around, we come to the curved windscreen with two wipers. The roof above is a smooth panel, which of course comes without a sunroof option. We can now move down and focus on the car's lateral aspect. We start at the bottom with the side skirt. It features a much more defined airflow line running along it. Above, the bi-colour wing mirrors have a new sweeping line coming from the inside edge that runs parallel to the black below. These have been fitted with the auto dimming feature. The handles behind and below are finished in the optional gloss black. Continuing back, the intake cover has some slightly more angular lines, but it's very similar to that in 981. This intake provides the largest source of air for the engine. Moving up and over the car, we come to the square rear window with its top integrated brake light strip. Behind, the rear wing has been redesigned and now creates up to 20% more downforce than that in its predecessor. It holds a much greater angle than before, and the winglets either side are actually built into the wing, as opposed to just being fixed to it as in 981. The struts below are similar to those in the previous model, and also allow for adjustment to the wing angle. The normal Cayman wing below has had all its mechanicals removed, so it's deactivated, but certainly still provides extra downforce. Now moving to the very rear of 718, we first come to the smoked LED rear light complexes. Between the lights is the now much stronger 3D Porsche text and black GT4 below. Continuing down, we find the optional reversing camera. Underneath the car, there's a much larger diffuser and new ducts that help to suck the car to the ground, producing as much as 30% of the rear aero. There's also a new split-exit valve-controlled exhaust system with a particulate filter. Let's hear how it sounds, first in normal and then in Sport Plus. Now we've finished the exterior tour, we can move inside. Just as with other Porsche models, the key is much slimmer than before, but still holds the same classic Porsche shape. It has buttons for lock, unlock, and to open the front and rear boots. Now moving into the car, the gloss black handle needs to be lifted up, and the doors can then be pulled out smoothly. This car comes with the optional racing yellow stitching, carbon fibre pack, bucket seats, and club sport package that adds the roll cage to the rear, attachments to the 6-point harnesses, and a fire extinguisher. We can now start the in-depth interior tour with the doors. The door structure is generally unchanged from 981 and starts with a curved leather upholstered panel with dual contrast stitch. Underneath this is a long inlay strip, here finished in the optional gloss carbon. The main leather upholstered panel starts under this and comes with a central Alcantara upholstered area, bordered with contrast stitching. At the top of this is the yellow, lightweight door pull to open the door. At the bottom of this main panel is the slim armrest, and ahead of it, the door handle and controls for the electric windows and mirrors, and the first speaker below. The very bottom of the door is divided up into two sections, and starts with this storage area that can be opened up. Ahead of it is the main open storage area and second speaker. This is the standard hi-fi system, but a Bose HD system could also be spec'd. Moving left, we come to the sill. GT4 is quite low, and entering the bucket seats does take some getting used to, but the sill isn't so high, so ingress and egress is quite straightforward. This car is fitted with the standard kickplate, but illuminated and carbon versions are also available. As we move along the sill, we find the previously mentioned standard aluminium and engraved GT4 kickplate plaque, buttons to open the front and rear boots, electric parking brake, key port, and the exterior light controls on carbon and first manually adjustable air vent. Moving left and up, we come to the Alcantara upholstered steering wheel. Taking a closer look, in classic Porsche tradition, the 360mm diameter wheel is stripped down and focused solely on driving, with a contrast 12 o'clock marker and contrast stitch, and hall controls centrally. To start the car, we need to take the car-shaped key and slot it into the port. This departs from the fixed starters Porsche have in many of their current cars. The port here is also illuminated, which would make it much easier to find. After the screens have come to life, we can then move to the instrument cluster. 718 comes with 3 screens, just as in its predecessor. From left to right, speedo with small screen, rev gauge with speed screen, and the main 4.6-inch display that shows live torque usage, speed limit, engine temperature, oil temperature and pressure and battery, audio, map display and navigation, trip, tyre pressure monitor, digital sport chrono timer, gear change assist and G-force. Moving up, we come to the dash. The main changes we see here are the raised air vents and sport chrono timer that has been pushed further back. Moving down, GT4 features the same 7-inch infotainment display and system as the other 718 models, but it can be removed here to save weight. It is a very high definition and responsive touchscreen, and we can start with the tuner for the full AM, FM and DAB digital radio, with station icons and list. Next is media for the jukebox and media via connected devices. Then phone for wireless calls and messages. Nav comes after for manual destination input, live traffic updates, route options and favourites. The map itself can be accessed on the following screen. Here live traffic can be viewed and the map can be manually manipulated. Sound comes next. Here the user can access the mixer, equalizer and volume controls to personalise their media experience. The app menu comes after and can be used to check weather, transport, news, parking, fuel prices and public travel information. The final screen, Car, is next. Here we can view the trip, stop clock and general settings. Moving down, we come to the first control array. This starts with the CD player with eject and skip track buttons, volume rotary below with the direct access controls for the infotainment system, the tuner, media, source and phone, and nav, car, map and home with a navigation rotary. Continuing back, we come to the climate controls with a central screen that displays air temperature and fan speed. The final arrays below are four from left to right: front demist, recirculation, rear demist, AC and then air direction. One of GT4's key features is behind, the Alcantara upholstered gear lever for the 6-speed manual transmission with dual mass flywheel. The lever itself has been shortened to facilitate quicker changes. The final button array is behind and is for hazard lights and interior lock, auto blip for auto rev matching, sport dampers, ESC off and ESCN traction control off, to open or close the exhaust valves and stop start. The final feature on this carbon-clad column is this small open storage area. Moving between the seats, we find this Alcantara upholstered armrest that's also the lid for the central storage area. It can be unlocked by pressing the small catch to the right side and then lifted up. Inside there isn't much capacity, but it does offer an additional USB input to the rear. Moving back and behind the seats, we eventually come to the rear struts and optional roll cage. The seats in this car are the optional carbon fibre reinforced plastic bucket seats that originally came from the 918 Spider. These are upholstered in leather and Alcantara with the optional racing yellow stitch and seatbelt. These bucket seats have manual back and forth controls at the front, and unlike many other full buckets, can be electrically raised or lowered using the button to the side. If we move them forward, we get better access into the rear and side storage areas that I will show later in the video. Now we've covered the majority of features, we can move to the car's remaining storage capacity. Just above the glove compartment and behind this carbon cover are the iconic Porsche deployable cup holders. Moving down, the illuminated glove compartment can be easily opened using the latch on the underside. It offers quite a large amount of capacity and a second USB input to the right. As seen earlier, the rear boot can be unlocked by lifting up the rear button on the driver's sill. As 718 GT4 is rear mid-engined, it has storage in the rear and front. The main area, which is in the rear, has a max capacity of 270 litres, but there are also covered compartments on either side that are far easier to access from the front. Once finished in the rear, the boot needs to be manually closed with a firm push. The front storage area can then be unlocked by lifting the front button on the driver's sill. To access the front, the bonnet needs to be unlatched by pushing the latch to the right and then lifting it up. The front compartment is quite a deep storage area and has a max capacity of 150 litres. Here we also find the warning triangle and access to various fluid pots. Once finished, the lid can be brought down and then secured with a firm press at the front. Moving back inside briefly, we can focus on the car's remaining features. On either side there are large, leather-upholstered sun visors with vanity mirrors. Moving centrally, we come to the controls with the LED reading lights, and below, the rearview mirror that offers a view partially obscured by the rear wing. So that concludes my in-depth exterior and interior in-depth tour of this 2020 Porsche 718 Cayman GT4 at Porsche GB. All of Porsche GB and Porsche Centre Reading's contact details can be found in the description of the video. Please subscribe for the latest content, and until next time, thanks for watching.